Hey Canucks fans, the NHL handed out some hardware this morning, and we might be getting some more clarity on this JT Miller trade. I'm Clay Emo, I'm at Canuck Clay on Twitter, I'm at Clayton Emo on Instagram. I'm the founder of the GLCPC, the Good Looking Canucks Positivity Club, and it's my Canucks take all in one take. It's Clay's Canucks commentary for Thursday, May the 28th. This is where you get Canucks insight that's both positive and timely. I hope you're doing well. Last night I got to play tennis for about 90 minutes. It was great. I went with my sons, Sean and Jacob, and my really good friend Rich, and we met out in South Arm in Richmond, and we played singles, me versus Rich, Sean versus Jake, and then we ended up with some doubles. Of course, Rich and I stayed very physically distant from each other. It was pretty easy because Rich is very fast on the court, and meanwhile I'm a more stay-at-home type, place my shots type guy. But we had a lot of fun, and it was great to get some exercise and catch up with Rich at the same time. So a nice little foray outside for me yesterday to get some exercise. So I hope you are doing well, staying healthy, staying fit, staying sane as well. There's a lot of crazy stuff going on in the world. I don't have to talk about COVID and the kind of the scary things that are happening in the States right now with deaths and and everything else. I really hope that you are staying safe and staying healthy. Okay, let's talk about a couple of things. Firstly, NHL handed out some awards this morning. These are the awards that are stats based, so don't have to worry about voting from the media, from fans, whatever it may be. So four of them. The first one was Boston Bruins awarded the President's Trophy, 100 points in the regular season, the shortened regular season, but they were clearly one of the top teams and the best team when it comes to points. So congratulations to the Boston Bruins for winning the President's Trophy. We've learned that doesn't mean a thing when you get to the actual playoffs. Number two, it was the Rocket Rashard Trophy for most goals in a season, a tie actually. 48 goals apiece for Alex Ovechkin of the Washington Capitals and David Pastrnak of the Boston Bruins. So congratulations to those two players. Obviously, they're both going to hit 50. They only needed 2 more goals each in about 10 to 12 games. So it's too bad that they're not going to get that total, but still really, really good seasons for both Ovechkin and Pastrnak. Speaking of the Boston Bruins, you have the Jennings Trophy, which goes to the team, the goaltending tandem that allows the fewest goals in a season. You might remember Luongo and Schneider won this for the Canucks 10 years ago. This one goes to the Boston Bruins as well. Tuukka Rask and Yaroslav Halak. So congratulations to those two guys. So Boston involved in 3 of the 4 awards this morning. And the last one, the only one that Boston isn't involved in today, Art Ross Trophy, leading scorer in the NHL, that goes to Leon Draisaitl with 110 points for the Edmonton Oilers. A really, really great season for him. So congratulations to all winners. The Bruins, Ovechkin and Pastrnak, Halak and Rask, I had brain fart there, and of course Leon Draisaitl. So we don't know when the rest of the actually awards are going to be. Usually they do them the 3rd week of June after the Stanley Cup Finals are done. I have a feeling they're going to do it between now and the qualifying round, just so there's another thing to talk about, because they aren't based on the playoffs, right? They're based on the regular season anyways. So you can argue whether or not the qualifying round should count as stats, but I think there's enough to go on. And of course, we are interested in the Calder matchup, which I think is a 50-50 split. I really do, a coin flip between Quinn Hughes and Cale Makar. So we'll see when the NHL announces the rest of those awards. I haven't even heard if the voting's been done yet, but maybe someone else can correct me if I'm wrong. So that's the first question of the day. What do you think of those award winners? Any surprises there? Well, I guess there can't be surprises because these are all stats driven. So what do you think of the award winners? A couple of things from the Vancouver Canucks update yesterday from Jim Benning. I think the most important thing is the injury updates to Josh Leivo and Michael Ferland. And it sounds like if the NHL started playing today, which they're not, they're looking at late July or August. Excuse me. If the NHL was to play today, neither Josh Leivo or Michael Ferland would be ready to go. Michael Ferland is understandable given his struggle with concussions, right? He got the concussion early in the year, then tried to come back too early. And that's something you simply don't want to mess around with, especially when you look in the long term. So Michael Ferland, I wouldn't expect him to play anyways this season. He'd be more of insurance, but how much insurance would that really be? Josh Leivo is the more interesting one to me because when he first got injured, I was at that game actually in against the Vegas Golden Knights here in Vancouver, and I saw what happened. We remember him getting pushed in the boards and then him slamming his leg into the dasher at the bottom of the boards. And they were saying 2 to 3 months at the time for a broken kneecap. Well, now it's been 5 months and it's still he's still not been cleared to play. So by the time they start skating, it'll be 6 or 7 months. So maybe he'll be ready to go there. But obviously, that's a really tough injury to come back from. Anything around the knee is so tricky, especially when the predominant skill these guys are exhibiting and having to use is skating. And obviously, the knees are a huge part of that. So we hope that Josh Leivo continues his recovery, that it goes well, that maybe it hasn't had any setbacks. It's just been a lot slower than they initially anticipated. And Josh Leivo would be a great person to have in the top 9. You know, he can be a third liner. He can move up to the second liner if necessary, a second line, but he might not have to with our top 6 now. But Leivo would be an excellent option on the third line. Then you can have you can choose between Gaudette, Roussel, Virtanen, and Leivo on that third line. So we'll see what happens. But yes, injury report was that both guys are still going through rehab and still going through training. So we'll see. We'll keep an eye on that, especially with Josh Leivo as the Canucks start to return, hopefully plan to return to action. Last thing I want to talk about is the JT Miller trade. And we got some clarity, although it hasn't been confirmed yet, but Jim Benning confirmed these suspicions. And it's something that I've been saying all along, and it has to do with the conditions on that JT Miller trade. Now, that trade was June 22nd, 2019. I remember that for 2 reasons. Number one, it happened basically at the start of day 2 of the draft. And number 2, that was my birthday. You guys might remember that was June 21st was night 1 of the draft. So I did the draft. Then I went to volunteer at my son Sean's after grad at Hugh Boyd High School. Stayed up all night, no sleep. And then I went back to Rogers Arena for day 2 of the draft. As I'm driving there, we hear about this JT Miller trade. Everyone's buzzing about it. And not a lot of people liked it at the time because they didn't know much about JT Miller and they were worried that we were giving up too much. A 3rd round pick and a 1st round pick, which was conditional. So if you guys remember, in getting JT Miller, and we know how awesome he's been this season, we don't have to talk about that today, but in getting JT Miller, we gave up 3 assets. We gave up goalie Marek Mazanik, backup goalie. We gave up the 3rd rounder in the 2019 draft, so that pick that happened later that day. And then we gave up a conditional 1st rounder. It was either going to be in 2020 or it was going to be in 2021. And it was basically conditional because it was, if the Canucks make the playoffs in 2020, then the pick goes to Tampa. If the Canucks miss the playoffs in 2020, we get to keep it. And then no matter what happens, we have to give our 2021 pick to Tampa Bay, so basically to fill the conditions of the trade. So basically the 2021 pick would not be lottery protected if we don't make the playoffs in 2021. The 2020 is lottery protected in that if we don't make the playoffs, we get to keep that pick. Why is that important? Well, it was really important because as the season shut down, as the season was put on pause, no one knew A, if the Canucks were going to make the playoffs, because B, no one knew what the playoffs meant. And even in the return to play plan that they released on Tuesday, they still haven't clarified without a shadow of a doubt what's playoffs and what's not. I and many people, even though a lot of people are flippantly using the term playoffs for all 24 teams, that doesn't make sense to me and to most people. I think in the hockey business, we're considering this first play-in round qualifying round, and if you notice, the NHL never said that was a playoff round. They kept calling it a qualifying round because then once those 8 qualifying winners go through to meet the 8 that got buys, then they were saying it's the first round. So you can't have something before a first of something. So I really believe that they're considering the qualifying round as non-playoff hockey, and then the round of 16 is the actual true playoffs. And why that's important, why that the semantics are so important, is because the Canucks are playing in this qualifying round. If they win, if they beat the Minnesota Wild, then they're not the final 16, and then I think you could properly deem the Vancouver Canucks a playoff team. But if they lose their play-in, their qualifying series to Minnesota, they're then in the bottom 15 teams of the league, and then I would consider them a non-playoff team. So that's why I think it's really important that the NHL is going to have to be a little more firm in their language and say, hey, the qualifying round is not playoffs, but the final 16 is the playoffs, or if they go the other way. But I think that's the way they will go, and that's the way they should go. How does that affect the JT Miller trade? Well, then obviously if the Canucks win, they're in the playoffs, then this year's pick will go to the Tampa Bay Lightning, and they actually traded it to New Jersey in a trade deadline deal for Blake Coleman. So let's say New Jersey now, because that's who owns the pick. So if the Canucks make the playoffs this season by defeating the Minnesota Wild in the play-in round, the qualifying round, then the pick goes to New Jersey because we know it's in the bottom half of this year's draft. And then that's cool. Then we get to keep next year's pick no matter what happens in a draft year that's supposed to be pretty deep next year. However, if the Canucks lose their first round, their play-in series against Minnesota, then we will be a lottery team. We will keep our pick this season and have a chance to win the lottery, which is kind of cool. I guess a good consolation prize. And then no matter what happens, the 2021 pick will go to New Jersey. So next season, no matter how well we do in the regular season. So it hasn't been confirmed, but Jim Benning said in his conference call that that's the way he thinks it's going to go. And to me, that makes the most intuitive sense. All we are waiting for basically is for the NHL to clarify that the qualifying round is not deemed a playoff round. And then we will know how the conditions for this JT Miller trade will work out. So there we go. I hope that makes sense to you. Question of the day then is a couple of them. What did you think of the NHL award winners announced today? What do you think of Josh Leivo and Michael Furlan? Do you want them to come back? Do you think either of them will come back? And then I guess the third question of the day is with respect to what I just talked about. Do you agree with my assessment of the JT Miller trade, the conditions, and this whole qualifying versus playoff round? Let me know. Leave a comment below. We have a lot we can talk about today. And I would, one other thing you may have seen, you may be confused by a video that I posted yesterday. I got hired to do a quick sponsored ad for a company called Hippie Snacks. Basically, I made a 3-minute video of me trying to make my own cauliflower crisps. And then I did the whole process, the whole recipe, which was all legitimate. That was actually, that wasn't staged. That was me actually making these things. And then at the very end, although they actually taste pretty good, basically the whole point was to invite people to enter a contest to win $50 worth of Hippie Snacks food. So if you want to check out my video from yesterday, it's called How to Make Cauliflower Crisps. And to enter the contest, which ends on Sunday, all you got to do is leave a comment. You can tag someone, you can name someone's name, you can give me a poem, you can talk about how good looking I am, whatever you want to do, just put that down in the comments and you are entered into the draw for Sunday. All right, there's a lot there. I would love to know what you're thinking. I'd love to know how you're feeling. Leave a comment below. I will read, react, and reply as always. Subscribe if you'd like to. Like this video if you'd like to. Enjoy the rest of the day. Stay safe, stay healthy, take care of yourselves, take care of each other. God bless and go Canucks go.